And the snow continues. Well, looks like I'm filming the intro for this just 5 days later. So we are back home. It is Friday, April 1st of all things. And yeah, I don't even know where to start really. I haven't read any Les Miserables since before my trip, and I am honestly extremely exhausted still. Like my eye literally just started twitching when I said that. I ended up injuring my foot somehow too. I think I accidentally gave myself some tendonitis on the top of my foot. It is visibly swollen than the other one, and it kind of actually started on day 2 of the 7-day trip. Pretty much I'm just trying to stay off my feet as much as possible, even though I'm standing right now, of course. But luckily it is better than it was the day before because it had been getting worse, so I was a little scared. But that should be fine. But that goes to show just walking constantly every day for 7 days straight is not exactly the best when you don't have the proper shoes. So anyway, I'll just get to the last clips of the trip. So enjoy, and I'll see you in a little bit. And we were on our way to Palermo. This was about a 2.5 hour bus ride from Catania, and as you can see, the views were pretty amazing. Sicily is such a mountainous island, and I've just really never been to places that have mountains, so I was just kind of fascinated by the terrain the entire time. And since this was our first day in Palermo, we were only able to go to one museum just because of how early everything closes. So we chose the Ignacio Mormino Art and Archaeology Museum, which is going to pop up here in just a second. It is located in Villa Zito, which is an 18th century palace that is now owned by the Sicily Foundation. And there they mainly showcase Sicilian artists, which the artist that I most enjoyed there is Giovanni Boldini. These last 3 pictures are all from him, and he is actually having an exhibition at the Petit Palais in Paris. And so that was awesome timing. Definitely gonna go to that. And I don't mean to make it sound like he's putting on the exposition because he is not alive anymore. But this was another part of the museum where it's old maps of Sicily and the town of Palermo itself. They were super interesting to see. Just the detail that goes into these always amazes me, especially since things like drones and stuff like that did not exist back in that day. And then this was one of the days where we didn't have a formal dinner. So we just ended the day having some arancina, cannoli, and boba. We finally made it to my birthday! Our first stop was the Diocesan Museum of Palermo. Apparently we didn't take any videos here, so these are just a few of my favorite pictures. Just like in Catania, this one is right next to the town's cathedral. We were also the only people here, which is always just such a bizarre feeling in a museum. But I did end up liking this one more than Catania's. They had a lot more architectural pieces, and the rooms were just so gorgeous. So coming up, we're gonna have a video, and the museum is on the left there, and the rest is the Cathedral of Palermo, which was our next stop. It was built in 1185, but it had additions throughout the 1700s, so very, very old. This place was a bit annoying though, because we went there at 10:40, and they took our tickets, scanned them and everything, but told us to come back at 11, but that in the meantime we should check out the crypts and the treasure room, which you'll see coming up also includes the crown of Constance of Aragon, which was pretty neat. We did follow what they said, but we honestly should have just waited there until 11 because we ended up having to just rush through the crypts just to be told that we were late for the 11 a.m. group, even though it was 10:55. So in the end, we ended up having to stand around for half an hour to be in the next group to go on the roof that you're seeing here. And you can see how it's like the whole town is just surrounded by mountains. I just think that is so freaking cool. But while all of this was happening, there was actually a funeral taking place in the main part of the cathedral, so that whole area was all roped off. But luckily, when we came back down from the roof, it was all open, so we were able to see the rest of it, because that was kind of a big concern at the time. But as you can see, this place was really quite beautiful, definitely one of the more interesting cathedrals we saw, and I really like that we were able to kind of see like the heart of Catania and then Palermo. Next up was the Royal Palace and Palatine Chapel, which was just a short walk away from the cathedral, and ran into this on our way there. It really caught us by surprise, but apparently it has something to do with the palace since we saw it a lot in the gift shop. This place was really confusing though. Most of it was completely blocked off, even though it was this giant palace. So we only got to be able to see the chapel. As you can see, it's quite small, but the pictures and the videos just really couldn't do the color justice. The chapel itself, though, was commissioned by the King of Sicily in 1132. The tickets for this, though, were way overpriced for how little we got to see, as pretty much the only thing that was open was the direct route to the chapel, and that was it. Next are the botanical gardens of Palermo, which, just like in Catania, these are maintained by the botany department of the University of Palermo and is far superior to the botanical garden in Catania. This place was amazing. It was one of my favorite places we visited. I was sad we were only able to spend a short time here. I could freaking live here with how gorgeous everything was. Like, I just wanted to like curl up on a bench and take a nap and just live in this place. I kind of felt like I was in Jurassic Park at some moments, but there was just such a variety of vegetation, and we also got to see some like parrots and stuff even in some of the trees. It was just overall a really, really neat and unique experience. And there was this giant tree there. I don't know how old it is or anything, but it's like one of the main draws of the botanical garden. And then this is the bamboo. This is what Toma really enjoyed. They had like this whole bamboo forest here that was really interesting, but like they had all these different interesting buildings and sections of the botanical garden. Like here was like this little open area with a pond where you could just kind of like sit and relax and stuff. But I just loved everything about this place. I really wish we were able to spend a few hours here, but we were just too constrained for time. Next was the Regional Archaeological Museum, which has a turtle pond. I really love turtles. This place was originally part of the church that's right next door, which we did go to after, but it was confiscated in 1866 and turned into this museum. So weird history there. But also, this place was almost destroyed by Allied bombing in World War II. Luckily, everything in the museum had been moved, so like nothing important was destroyed, but the building itself had to be rebuilt. This place was fun because they had like this really cute garden area, and it was surrounded by these small rooms that were full of things found on archaeological digs. They had plaques telling stories of the digs and stuff, and there was talking about how one of the archaeologists had been like assassinated by ISIS and stuff. So there was some crazy history going on there. But then there was also this area that was more traditionally set up in like a typical museum way. But this was also one of my favorite museums we visited, just because they had all these little archaeological knickknacks like pottery, toys, things of that nature. And I am a sucker for like little clay things made out of animals, so when those popped up, I was just simply delighted. Like, I absolutely love stuff like this, and any kind of ceramics, pottery, that just gets me. And then these last few pictures here are going to be from the Church of St. Ignatius at Olivella and the Church of St. Dominic. This first one was the one that's right next to the museum, and it used to be a palace where the patron saint of Palermo is said to have been born. Construction started in 1598, but the church wasn't consecrated until 1711. It was really dark in here, and it was hard to take pictures because of that, and that's why I don't have any video as well. As for the second church, it has been demolished and rebuilt so many times for the Dominicans, which is an order of the Catholic Church that is actually founded in Toulouse, France, which that's where my husband went to college. Basically, the worshippers kept outgrowing the church. Construction started in 1640 for the church as we know it today, but currently the church houses the graves of many notable Sicilians, so it has become known as the Pantheon of Illustrious Sicilians. And finally, we ended my birthday at Lato B, which is just a nice little restaurant that sometimes has jazz musicians and just kind of has that jazzy type of vibe. We finally made it to the last day. This was probably the least organized day as well. We walked around a bit to see some of the outdoor monuments like the Praetorian Fountain, which was built in 1544, and the Quattro Canti, which is a piazza in the very center of the historic quarters of the city. Each section represents a season, a king of Spain, and a patron saint. Next, we visited the Church of the Gesù, which is so non-assuming from the outside, but once you step inside, it is just truly breathtaking. I really think this is the most gorgeous church I've ever been in. I could easily spend hours just looking at all the carvings and the level of detail. It's just next level. But this place was completed in 1580, it was decreed a national monument in 1888, and it lost its dome to a bomb in World War II. But this place is considered a must-see for Palermo, and I 1000% agree. At one point, I just kind of sat down in one of the pews and was just absorbing just everything around me. It was truly amazing. The last place we visited was the Palazzo Merto Casa Museo. This is a palace turned into a museum that showcases Sicilian nobility. It has a pretty interesting history. Each section of the building was built in a different century, with the newest being the 1800s and the oldest the 1200s. The Filandri family occupied this palace up until 1982, when the last heir donated it to Sicily for it to be converted into the museum we saw today. Yet again, we were the only visitors here, so it was a really lovely time. But after the museum, we headed to the train station that was close by, had a late lunch, and waited for our train to the airport. The airport was definitely one of the smaller ones I've been in. Our flight did end up being delayed an hour due to wind, which you'll be seeing in a little clip coming up here. And that was our trip to Sicily. And I'm back! So our trip was 4 days in Catania, 3 days in Palermo, for a total of a week away. Basically, we left early Thursday morning and came home very late Wednesday night. It was actually Thursday morning, 12:30 in the morning when we got back. But anyway, one thing I kind of want to address is, through all my clips and pictures and stuff, you've kind of only seen like the best parts of the city and Sicily and stuff. But I want to point out that it is very easy to romanticize cities that you've never been to before. I live in Paris, and there's something called Paris syndrome, which is basically when someone's expectations of Paris are so high that when they're not met when they arrive here, that they kind of go into a sort of shock. And I do believe that my husband and I experienced a much more milder version of that, especially with Catania. because we landed and we're just kind of looking at each other like, this airport looks like prison. And then walking around, going to our Airbnb, literally the entire town is covered in graffiti and is full of trash. All the dumpsters, trash cans were just overflowing. There were open trash bags like all over the ground, trash flying everywhere. Like that was the entire city, except for the one road that's just like tourist spots. It was like the one clean road in the entire town. And it just felt very bizarre because I know people will come to Paris and be like, oh my god, it's so dirty, it's disgusting. And Catania was 10 times worse. Like, I don't ever want to hear someone say Paris is disgusting again, because I definitely realize like how good we have it here. Like, oh my god. But yeah, I don't know, it's just a point I wanted to bring up, that places are different. Other countries are different from where you may be from. Don't romanticize cities, and be aware that the pictures and clips you see are usually going to be like the better parts of the city, like the best of the best kind of thing. So just kind of keep that in mind. Also, we honestly thought we were going to get hit by a car there. It is like completely lawless when it comes to the cars. And the one time we were in a vehicle with a Sicilian driver was interesting. But yeah, I did really enjoy most of the places we went to on our trip. One funny thing that happened is the best food we ate there actually ended up being from a Mexican restaurant called Carlitos in Catania. Easily the best meal we had there. Like, eating it made me so happy. My husband had tacos for the first time, which I didn't realize he had never had before. He had beef tacos, I had a chicken burrito, and just made my soul happy. And unfortunately, the two worst dishes, not worse, that I had were actually pasta dishes. They were the two pasta dishes I had there, and they were the worst thing we had. Like, that makes no sense to me. Also, arancino or arancina, depending on which part of Sicily you're in, is super good. Like, the first ones we had were amazing, and we had them like 3 more times after that. And they were just so varied in whether they were good or not, but we're definitely gonna see if there's any like Italian street food places around here that have them, because they were super good. Also tried granita and gelato, obviously. So most of the food stuff was good, but the stuff that wasn't was pretty disappointing, unfortunately. We saw a lot of churches, monasteries, basilicas, places like that. We went to a lot of religious places, even though we are not religious at all. I just love a good cathedral. Went to some museums. And we actually got super lucky with the weather. Like, even on Mount Etna, it was supposed to just rain and snow like all day, but we ended up having some really good views of the mountain, which you've probably already seen in the previous reading vlog on here. But now I'm still just like completely dead. And it was so weird because 2 days ago was Wednesday. We were in Palermo and it was 71 degrees there. Now we are back in France. It is currently snowing outside the window here right now. And no, it's not sticking, luckily. And it's like 36 degrees, which is why I'm wearing this chinchillin sweater, because like, it's apparently April Fool's, it's still winter. So tomorrow is actually the end of this vlog. And since in Les Miserables, I'm in the spot right where shit's about to go down with Cosette and everything, and I don't really feel up to it yet. I think what I'm going to do is save like that whole part for next week's vlog, since tomorrow's Saturday already. So I really just want to take these days to kind of rest up, get to where I can walk without limping. That would be nice. And just recharge, relax, be prepared for next week. And we'll get into all the Cosette drama then. I'm really looking forward to it, but I don't want to start it and just read like one chapter and have that be the end of this vlog. Like, that feels kind of annoying. So I would rather start off the next one with a bang and just have this one, I guess, focus just on the trip, because I couldn't read anything while I was gone. But it's probably going to take me quite a long time to edit these, so who knows when they'll actually go up. But thank you for hanging out with me and dealing with these 2 vlogs that have pretty much nothing to do with Les Miserables. And until next time, when we finally get back into the groove of things, bonne journée and au revoir.